As you can tell, in my main window is AppFiles. To get into AppFiles, you can use My H&R Office and save your credentials in for a one-time login, or you can actually save this as a shortcut on your computer, which I would heavily recommend. It makes life so much easier. In your primary window of AppFiles, it looks intimidating, but the truth is AppFiles just reiterates every item that's in AppFiles. So if you see it in one place, it will be repeated somewhere else. Okay, so start to finish, at the very top of your AppFiles is your home button, which brings you to this window. Next, you have My AppFiles. When you select My AppFiles, these are your current AppFiles that are in progression or past. They are in this window. Also, you have your signature request. So for every signature outbound that you send, you'll be able to track the status of your signatures in this tab. If someone says they have not received it, you can also resend. I think I'm zoomed in a little bit. Let's back up. There you go. You can hit the green button to resend the actual signature request. It also shows you here how many signatures need to be completed and how many initials need to be added. It also has a link tied to this document for signatures. Okay. Another option is the My Inbox. Now, you will not be using your My Inbox because in your settings, I am going to tell y'all to spoof your email. So instead of emails coming to your AppFiles, it will go to your Harry Norman email address. It also gives peace of mind to your client when you see your Harry Norman email. Your activities are all the functioning items that you're doing in AppFiles, whether it's a signature request, whether you've changed the status of your app file, whether you've attached documents and sent them through email in AppFiles. This is just all your action items of your app file. Task. Some of y'all will see this more than others. It just kind of depends on how your staff members use it. But say, for instance, you submit an app file to your staff members and you're missing a certain document that needs to be in. Your staff members can set you up a task saying that you need to add an item to your app file. So the really great thing about AppFiles is there's a lot of different ways of you communicating with your staff members, which is extremely important because every office handles AppFiles differently. So the communication is important. So if you're turning in an app file, you can also put an update that says, hey, Patrice, I'm ready and I've sent you my document. Check it out, it's in AppFiles. So you can have that communication. All right, so that's your top navigation. Like I said before, items are repeated. On your right side, you have your recently new app files, which is the same as My AppFiles. In your center, you have your recent activity, your activity tab. And of course, at the top are tasks. If your staff members have sent you a task. If you're a part of a team, this is also a moment where you would use task as well. That's why they put it up top so you see that this is important to do. On your left side, you'll notice that we'll get into the settings right here in just a second, but creating a new app file is what we are going to cover today. You can also print blank forms that are stored in app files. So when in doubt and you need a document, you can go ahead and print the document out from here. It looks like this. So you can search for the document and you can print the form. All right. Do I have any questions about the main menu of AppFiles? Pretty straightforward. You'll get more and more comfortable the more you work with it, but just everything is just mostly repeated. Also, if you run into any technical issues with AppFiles, their AppFiles support is amazing. They respond very, very quickly within the hour. So if you see that you're missing something or something's out of place, their support team is really great. I heavily recommend them. All right. Do I have any questions about the main window? Okay, cool. All right. So the next thing that we're going to cover is your settings. This is mostly a one-time setup, but there are some times when you might need to make some changes. Your settings are at the very top left side where your headshot will be. Okay, at the very top left. Okay, my photo settings, those are the same tab. So you just click settings. Take a sip of my coffee. All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go down the order of your settings to make sure everything is correct. The very first thing, let me bump this up a little bit more so you can see it, is your display name. So just make sure it is the correct name that you want to show up. If you are a junior, if you're a second, make sure it is there. Okay. Next, user photo. Okay. If you have a headshot, which you should through Harry Norman, or you're going to be getting it very soon, you're going to need to add your headshot to your app file. Because as you're working with other people, that headshot will be assigned to it. To add your headshot, you will click on the Browse button. And you will go and find, let me make sure y'all can see what I'm seeing. You're going to go and browse and grab your headshot. That should be saved somewhere easily accessible on your computer, preferably on your desktop. Okay. After you say you find your headshot, you hit open and you start your upload. So this is a one-time thing. Make sure your headshot's easy to get to, put it on your desktop, browse, grab your headshot, and start your upload to replace, put in your headshot. And I just replaced mine with the Harry Norman logo. Easy enough. I got to figure out where my headshot is now, but that's okay. All right, everybody with me?
Yep.
One-time setup, get your headshot in place. Next, they've changed the name of this recently. Cell phone, just checkpoint to make sure your cell phone's correct. Okay, that's actually different than what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we are going to email address settings. Okay, so as I discussed earlier, you're not going to be using the AppFiles inbox. It's not preferred. What I'm going to recommend you do is make sure your email address is correct at the top. Okay. What I'm going to say is in the very beginning, make sure this checkbox that says copy my primary email and all emails sent through AppFiles is checked just for the beginning. If there are too many communications coming through AppFiles, just come back in your settings and uncheck it. But it's always good to make sure that your primary email is just on everything you send. The reason why is when something goes out, you can say, hey, Melissa, I sent you this and I received it at 2 o'clock. So you should have received it at 2 as well. That's strong communication as an agent. Lastly, there's a checkbox right here that says spoof your email address by sending via appfiles.us. Check this. What it will do is instead of it coming through AppFiles, it is going to come from your Harry Norman email, which of course gives your contacts more peace of mind. Now, I know a lot of people see that there's cons that it could go into a spam filter. I have only heard this happen twice in the 2 years that I've taught this class. And if it does, you're more likely going to hear about it and you can get this resolved, but more likely it will not. So check spoof your email address by sending via AppFiles. Okay. Your next item, your email footer. And this is all in settings. Remember this. This is all in settings. Your email footer. I had an agent before we started this class say that they ran into this as being an issue. Okay. What you are going to do to get your email footer into place in AppFiles is you're going to bring up your email like so. Okay, I'm in email.harrynorman.com. Okay, I'm literally in the browser email. Okay, not in Outlook. You can do it in Outlook, but I know for a fact this will work every time. You are going to go to new message, and you're going to create a blank email. Okay. Let me make sure I'm screen sharing right. 1 second. There we go. This is better. So everybody can see I have a blank email and I just have my signature in the body. Okay, I got rid of all the spaces above it. This is just my email signature, okay? In the subject line, I'm just gonna put signature. You really can put anything, it does not matter. Okay, I'm gonna go back to AppFiles where I'm in my settings. And I'm gonna copy this email address right here. See this button that says copy?
Mhm.
I'm gonna click copy. It's gonna confirm that I'm copying the email address, and I say okay. So you're just copying this email address. I'm gonna go back to my email, and I'm going to send my signature to that email address. Let's see if I've got everybody with me on this. Everybody understand? I'm in your settings. I'm under signatures. Okay. I'm under email footer because I'm putting your signature as an email footer. Okay. I am copying this email address and I am sending my signature in an email to AppFiles. It's a one-time thing. Okay. All right. So I'm back here on my email. I have my email, my signature, my email that it's going to through AppFiles. I've named it signature and I'm just going to send. And that's it. Okay. So I'm sending my signature to AppFiles. To make sure it works, I'm going to close this out and I'm going to hit refresh at the very top where it's a refresh button, or you can put your cursor on the URL and press enter to refresh my window. I'm going to go into settings again, and I'm going to check my email footer, and now it's in place. And yours should do the same thing. Okay. I got a few complex faces. Does everybody understand? I want to make sure everybody's good with this.
Well, we'll have to try it first.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you know, writing notes and everything is great. Don't forget this video will literally be on YouTube. Like, it will be available under H&R Trainer. So you can always reference back as you're doing these things. Got to sneeze. That's the worst when a sneeze doesn't come. Whew. Sorry, allergies. All right, so it's a one-time thing. Get your signature in place, open an email, send it to this email address, and your signature is in place. The wire fraud information will populate itself, which covers you, okay? So it's just your signature part, okay? The last item I'm gonna cover in settings is this option. If it's not already set for full desktop view, set it for desktop view. The odds that you use a mobile view for AppFiles is very rare. You're mostly going to be using your computer when it comes to creating AppFile folders for your contacts.
What about your iPad?
iPad still the view would be fine using full desktop view, honestly.
Okay. All
because
right,
you're going
yeah.
to use it like a browser anyway.
Right.
You're not going to be using
Okay.
it like an app. So yeah, you'd
Right.
be fine.
Okay.
And that's your settings. It's not too bad. Going down again, display name, make sure it's you. User photo, browse, put your headshot into place and hit upload. Okay. Next, check to make sure your cell phone number is right. Your email address and setting, make sure you have the right email address. Make sure you copy as your primary email so that you receive a communication when you send things out. Spoof your email address so that your Harry Norman email goes out instead of the AppFiles funky email address that goes out. It's more of peace of mind. Next is your email footer. Once again, open up a blank email address or email, make sure your signature's in it, and you're going to send it to this email address right here at the top. And it will come into place when you refresh your window. Lastly, make sure you're on full desktop view. Okay, those are settings. I have a short 2-minute long video on H&R Trainer if you need to reference back. Perfect. All right, I'll put it at the end of the class. I'll put my H&R Trainer YouTube address in the comments so y'all can see it. All right. Before I dive into a brand new app file, do I have any questions whatsoever? There is no bad question other than not asking the question.
Will you be showing us how to upload like a listing?
Uploading documents, you mean?
Yeah, in other words,
Yes,
going to the forms. That's
yes. I've got a long list of items, and yes, I'm covering every bit of it. Don't worry about it, Sandy. I got you.
On the
okay.
email link, on the email
I'm
link,
sorry?
would it be good to add the Harry Norman logo at the bottom with your signature?
If your signature already has the Harry Norman logo in it, it will translate into your app files.
But what
If
if you'd
that's what
like
you're
to
asking.
add that and you don't have it?
I'm sorry?
What if you'd like to add that, but you don't have that?
Check with your marketing coordinator. They have the right size logo, and they can show you how to implement it.
All right, sounds good.
My plan is to do a short video on how to do the perfect email signature, because I get actually more questions about this than ever. So just keep an eye out for that. I might actually be able to do that after this class. I'll do an email signature video to put on H&R Trainer. The main thing about using the logo is making sure the logo is the right size in your signature.
Mhm.
That's the hard part, because they can be monstrous when you don't want them to be. All right, so we're still in the pre-part of AppFiles. One thing that I'm going to point out that I think is extremely important, over here in your links option below settings is your form values.
Yep.
Now I'm going to harp on this like crazy. In your form values, these are all of the documents and forms that you will use as a real estate agent. Okay. You can pre-fill in information in form values. And what I mean by this is information that you will use every time. An example of this, I'm going to come and I'm going to click the drop down and in-house forms. I'm going to scroll down and I am going to go to my buyer brokerage agreement because I know I'm always going to use this. And I'm going to click on it. Okay. In this, I know that on 6 of 10, and I scroll down a little bit. One thing I also could do is I could put in some special steps that I know I use every time. If you always use a termite bond, if you know, anything that in your area you use repetitively, this is an opportunity to put it in. But the one thing I want to point out the most in your buyer brokerage, you can fill out your licensee contact information. So don't go to the managers and telling them, but what I normally recommend is one night with a nice glass of wine, knocking out these documents. Bring up your purchase and sale, bring up your buyer brokerage, look at the document and see where you can pre-fill in some information because it'll be there every time you use the document.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't be afraid to go in here and do this. This is all under form values. So that when you have an app file and you bring your buyer brokerage in, this information is already filled in. Cool.
I have a question, please.
Of course.
Do you have to hit save or?
No. You would just close the document when you're done and that information stays in place.
That's the hardest thing.
I know, right?
feel like you
You
need to
really do
save
want to press
something.
save, don't you?
Yeah.
The only time you really do save in app files is when you're putting a special step into your document. And I'll show you that. It's one of the very few times that you actually click save. That's a great question, though. Thank you for that. All right. So we've covered settings. We've covered that you can print blank documents if you need them. And we went into your form values. Your form values are extremely important. Get in there, fill in your documents you're going to use. Anything that you can do to shorten your use of app files so it's easier, knock it out. Okay. So what we are covering now is creating a brand new app file folder. You're creating an app file because you're meeting with somebody you know. Okay. So on the far left side, there is create new app file. Okay. When you click this option, it literally is a manila folder, y'all. It's a manila folder. And this is the folder that's going to contain all the documents you need for your transaction with your client. Okay. So I'm going to start off, since I don't know what we're planning to do, I'm going to start off with the name of my client. And usually I use a musician just because it's kind of fun to go that direction. So I'm going to start off with one of my favorites, John Popper. If anybody's a Blues Traveler fan, there we go. All right, so John Popper will be my buyer, and I'm going to work with him as a buyer. I am going to click the file type, and I'm going to declare him as a buyer. Okay. I'm creating a brand new folder because he's my client. We haven't decided on anything, but I have a folder started for him. There's nothing wrong with doing some pre-items, especially with how crazy it is for buyers right now, just to go ahead and get the folder created and get it started. Okay. So the one thing I'm going to reiterate a lot about AppFiles is filling in where you can only help you. So as you go, just fill in where you can. So for instance, let's see. So agent, I'm just going to put in Drew. Buyer name is John Popper. If you've already figured out what listing they're going to make an offer, you can get the FMLS number in. If you have the buyer email address, if you want to put it there, but it's visible, so you have to be careful about that too, whatever you need to have it visible on here. Whether it's a reload type, transaction type, whether it's a residential family, whatever you can pre-fill in, the better. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click next. Of course, these items can be filled in later on as you go, so don't feel, distraught. All right, so in this next step, step 2, is where you're adding users. And the reason why you would add user is if you are a part of a team. Okay, if you're part of a team, you would add users so that they can view your app file folder. Also, some people sometimes use this as an opportunity to have their mentor view their app file folder as they go. So that's something to think about. The staff will always be admins, so they'll always have access. So you don't have to worry about that. But to add somebody to this app file, you just come over to the left side and you are going to click the plus next to the name, and it will add them here on the left side as a user for your app file. Okay. If you're a husband and wife, if you're a duo, if you're a part of a larger group and you need people to actually see this folder, this is where you would add them. Okay. Lastly, I'm going to create my app file. Nothing scary, right? Nothing scary. Let me see, I've got some faces, perfect. All right. Do I have any questions before I go in? Nope, okay. Now, I'm going to give you all the best advice you could possibly have with app files. Create a test app file folder. Create a test app file folder. Name it test, okay? It'll help you get accustomed to how AppFiles works. Dropping in documents, adding elements, sending signatures. You can send a signature request to yourself to test how the communication looks so you can see as the document comes in. So create a test app file. Okay. All right, so the very first thing we are going to cover now that we've created the app file is we're going to add a document to this app file folder. Up at the left-hand side, you see where it says add forms. I'm going to click on add forms. Okay. The very first thing that I'm going to add is my buyer brokerage agreement. Okay. To find this item right here in the search, I'm going to type buyer, and you will see right here, my buyer brokerage is available. And if you've pre-filled in your information using your form values, it's already got some information in place. I'm going to click on it once, and it will be added to my documents to come into AppFiles. If you add multiple, they'll merge together temporarily, which is nice. Now, just from working with AppFiles for so long, if you click the add selected forms and it doesn't immediately go, it's probably going to ask you for your NERDS number if this is your first time in AppFiles, just so you know. So if your first time getting into AppFiles, you might want to have your NERDS number available. Just a thought. In every class I've ever taught, 30 people in a room, there's always two, always two. So I'm just bringing it out there. So I'm going to add selected form. I have added one document to my AppFiles folder, and it brings it up immediately, I'll close it. You will see it's right over here in general paperwork. Okay. Add forms, you can keep adding documents. Okay, so the next thing I want to cover is I'm going to open back up that buyer brokerage and say I've filled in all the information that I need. Everything's filled in, got all of this information in place. I've edited anything that needs to be edited. I'm going to send for a signature request. Okay. Right in the center of this item, it says request signature. I'm going to click request signature. All right, this window comes up. I'm going to start a signature request. All right. So if y'all are rDoc users or eSign or whatever you've used before, there is one major difference with AppFiles. If you have multiple people who need to sign documents, you have to send them separately.
One at a time.
Okay, one at a time, exactly, because you can track each individual person, which also helps when you say, hey, John, I've noticed that Susan hasn't signed, but you have. Thank you for doing that. So there's something to be good. There's something good about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in John's name first. And you can send these at the same time. It's not in a cycle. Okay, so you can send John and you can send Susan right afterwards. I'm going to click buyer signature 1. And then I'm going to click next. So if I was sending for Susan Popper, I would select buyer signature 2 when I'm sending her signature request. I'm going to click next. Okay. If you need a timestamp, this is where you would do a brokerage engagement date and time. But since we're doing this as a buyer brokerage, I don't feel like I need this. I have a strong enough relationship with John. I don't have to push him along a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to click next. And this is what the email will look like going to John. I'm going to put in here, I'll use my email address as an example to send. Okay. So here's the email. It's got my signature below it. Here's the information that's going to be in the body of the email. You can change this all you want, but just stay away from this right here. That's the link for the signature request. So instead of it saying, please review, you can always push this down and say, hi, John. It was great meeting you today. I love showing you all the listings in Marietta. It was a beautiful day for us to grab lunch and see all these great homes. Please see the signature request below. You still have room in these situations to be personable, of course. So that's asking for a signature request. And you're going to scroll down a little further. You'll click next. And if you need to add one of your users that's a part of your team so that they see when this signature went out, that's the last step. So then you request signature. And that's it.
I have a question.
Of course.
Can you pre-sign yourself if your signature
Great
is
question.
required, or can you set that up
Nope.
in forms?
You were right on with that. I'm a huge fan of that. Right here, where it says sign now, you can go ahead and knock out your signature before you send off. So yes.
Okay, got it.
Great question. Thank you for asking that. All right, does everybody feel pretty confident with the signature request? Because right now we have one outbound signature to John. Say we need to do Susan, we would just hit signature request again, start the process again and say Susan, buyer signature 2. And here is actually a status of John's signature that's out right now. Okay. As we discussed in the very beginning, I'm going to refresh my home window. Under signature request on the main page, you'll see John Popper's signature request is right here. And if he says he didn't receive it, you can resend it to make sure he gets it. Cool. All right. So that's adding a document and putting a signature request out. Do I have any questions on this? It's not too bad. It's pretty smooth. Of
I have a question.
course.
After you've sent out for the signature, let's say you don't get the signature back and you won't be needing the signature. How do you get rid of that signature request that you sent out?
So on the same window I just showed you on the home window, you can cancel a signature request as well. Right here.
Oh, okay.
Get a lot of control on that home window with the signature request. So signature request, John Popper, if I don't need his signature any longer, I would just click cancel and just end that signature request.
Got it. Thank you.
No, great question. Thank you. All right. All right. So the next item we are covering is, let's see, we're going to add 2 documents at the same time, and then we're going to go into importing values, which is actually a lot of fun. So I'm going to go back to my add forms, and I'm going to type in my purchase and sale. I'm going to add that document, just like I did the buyer brokerage. I'm just adding a document to this folder. Okay. Also, I'm going to add in their financing, which we're going to do a conventional. And I've added 2 documents here. So what happens is when I add these forms, they're going to be together for the moment. I can split them apart, but at this moment, they'll be together. I can also move these documents with these green lines right here next to the items. This is one place you can move them. There's several other places, but you can move them right here. Okay. I'm going to add these selected forms. So now I have my purchase and sale with the conventional loan contingency attached to it. It's all here. And so my next thing that I'm going to go into is, let's see, I want to go ahead and touch on this big one. So in your purchase and sale, 6 of 10, I'm going to go up here to the top where I'm going to go pages 6 of 10. And if I scroll down a little bit, y'all all know about special stipulations, right? Well, last year in about June, they added something new to the special stip section. They actually gave you an archive of special stips you would use, which was extremely nice. So now you don't have to copy and paste or write them all in. They're actually in an archive for you. One thing I'm going to touch before I go in, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll notice that they've added the additional page for the COVID information. It's already in here. Okay. This is also where you can add more, this space down here below the COVID information, you can add more stipulations if you need it. So there's more space for it. But I'm going to start off in this block. To add a special stipulation to your purchase and sale, in this window, I'm just going to click on it. Okay. So you can either write in it or you can paste in it. But the cool thing, the thing that they've added is that gallery of special stips, which is up here where it says show. This blue button right here that says show. Okay. Now, if you're good at putting in special stips, the first thing I always do is I'll number them. So I'll put number 1, and then I'll go get my first stip. So I'll hit show, and say I'm just going to put in termite just because it's on my brain. I see all I had to do is type in search to find my stipulations. There are tons of stipulations in here. So I'm going to type in what I'm looking for, and I'm going to select it by clicking on it. And you're just going to scroll down a little bit, and it tells you, do you want to insert at the beginning or insert at the beginning or at the end? The reason why is if you have multiple stipulations, this determines the order that they're going in. That's the gist of it. So I'm going to say insert at beginning. Oh, it moved my number 1 now. And I have my new stipulation in. And of course, you can clean this up. This just makes a shortcut happen. Okay. So if I want to add another stipulation, I would come up a little bit higher. And I'm just going to grab the next one on my carousel. So I'm going to click on this one, scroll down a little bit, and I'm going to insert it at the end. And so now I have 2 stipulations in place. And this one I'll number 2. Now, with the market being as crazy it is right now, you might have to have another page of special steps. So to do that, you're going to save what you have here. Okay, so I have 2 special steps. If I have more, you can click on the option that says additional special steps are attached, and you would just add another page of just special steps. I think
Where do
the
you
actual
have it to save it?
Oh, good call. Thank you. Green button. The
Okay.
only time you have to hit save. The only time. Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that. It's the only time you have to hit save. It's really, it's wild. Thank you. So special steps. You can show special steps, which will show you a gallery. I mean, some people still stick to the old way. Some of them have a copied, Word document with special steps they normally use. Whatever works for you. I'm always on the side of the agent, but you can use this gallery and put in your special steps. And you're just going to hit save changes and they'll be in place. You have a lot of special steps. There is a form that is called, I believe it's called special steps continued, that you can add into this document. And I'll show you how to merge and move pages. Don't worry about that. It's actually a lot of fun. Do I have any questions about special steps?
How many will fit on a one page on the first one? Just 2, or you can do more?
Yeah, I mean, what it does is it kind of decreases the font size after a certain point because it wants to keep them in there. For me, the average is about 2 or 3. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And right now, anybody with a ton of special steps isn't really, it's not a very good thing for sellers when they see that, of course. So you hope there's not a ton. But yeah, 2 or 3 on this first window, and then you just add. And like I said, if you scroll down a little further where the actual COVID thing is, you can add some special steps below it as well. There's room for that. I had an agent, a seasoned agent here at West Cobb tell me about, they're like, Drew, you do realize you can add more special steps below the COVID stuff, right? And I was like, that's why you're great. All right, so that is adding special steps. All right, so the next thing I want to cover, let's see, is importing values. Okay, some of y'all may have already heard of this before. Importing values is where it's taking information from other places and filling in your document to make it quicker. You're shorthanding some things. So up here, I'm in my purchase and sale. There's a yellow button right here that's called import values. When you click on it, it shows you 4 different areas where you can grab information from. Okay, so this is extremely important if you've done your form values in the very beginning, because you can grab information from that. You can grab it from other documents. So I'm in my purchase and sale, but I can pull information from my buyer brokerage agreement about me as a real estate agent. Okay, so once again, make sure everybody sees where I'm at. I'm in my purchase and sale. I went to import values. Okay, I recommend play with this. See how it pulls in the information. It's really neat. It's your job really quick, especially when I get to that import FMLS. Since this is a purchase and sale, I want to put the listing that my client's interested in into place. So we'll start with the first one, import from a form. When I click on this, you can already tell the first thing it recognized the buyer brokerage agreement that I was just working with. And it has 11 values that it wants. Okay. And it's that information that I had pre-filled in the form values right here about me. So it's saying 11 values are going to be added into my purchase and sale. I'm going to click choose. And here it is. Here's the information that it found on my buyer brokerage to fill in my purchase and sale. So I don't have to type this stuff in.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, make life easier on yourself if you can. If you fill it in one place, it will be able to be reflected on another page. So I'm going to start the import. And now this information will be added by clicking done. And let's see, if you scroll down a little bit, you already tell right here.
Mhm.
The buyer's broker is Harry Norman. So that was information that it pulled from my buyer brokerage agreement. Okay. This seems like really complex, but it's really not, I promise. It's you click a button and you see what you can grab. Import values again, this time if I'm taking from info fields. Okay, so info fields are, says file information. That was the very first information that you put on your AppFiles folder, where I said it was John Popper, that I said that I was the agent tied to him. That was one of the very first items. Now, one thing I will cover is there an item called master buyer template. Okay, I'll show you this in just a quick second, but this other information is some items that you can pre-fill in because it will help you long term. But for now, I'm just going to do the file information. So I'm going to hit choose. And as I said before, buyer's name and my name are available. I'm going to start the import. So if I had filled in more information on my buyer brokerage, or if I filled it up in my file information, that stuff would already be there and ready to roll. Okay. I can also perform another import. Okay, my favorite. We're in the purchase and sale. Is FMLS or Georgia MLS, depending on where you are in Atlanta, of course. I'm going to start out with FMLS.
Yep.
So say my client John loves this listing, 230 Bradbury Street. Really neat place. I'm going to take the FMLS number of this listing. I'm just going to copy it. Okay, I went into FMLS. He loves Bradbury. I'm going to grab the FMLS number. I'm going to come to my import values right here, and I'm just going to paste it in. Okay, because what it's going to do is it's going to recognize Bradbury, and it's going to pull all that information into this purchase and sale. So I don't have to type all of it.
But what if you wanted to just type the number?
Oh, of course. Yeah, no,
Okay.
of course. Yeah. I just try to make it shorthand for you. Make it
Okay.
easier. So I'm going to hit search. It's going to find 230 Bradbury Street, right? And I'm going to hit choose. And all of the information from FMLS on this listing will come into my purchase and sale.
Okay.
See?
Yep.
That's the fun part. These kind of items are so neat to fill in. So now that and if there's anything that's contested, you are going to deselect it. So if the lot size doesn't seem correct, deselect it, knowing that you're going to write that part in. That comes up every once in a while. I'm going to acknowledge this information is correct, and I am going to start the import. And all this information will be added to my purchase and sale. And I'm going to hit done. So there it is. 230 Bradbury Street is now filled in on my purchase and sale. It's a little bit of information that makes things easier and quicker. So don't be intimidated by this. Each document can use import values. This yellow button right here is your friend, and I would practice with it, see how it works. When you create your test app file, you put your purchase and sale in, you hit import values, and put in a listing that you know is available, and just see how the information comes into the document. It's really helpful.
Quick question, Drew.
Of course, Sherry.
So if you pulled in that address
Mhm.
from the FMLS, does it also go to the form and to your file information at the same time?
It doesn't. You would have to do that, but that's not a bad idea either. Let me go over that. Because what you could do, let me see. Well, I was going to cover the master buyer template. Over here on your right side, your file information, as I was showing you earlier, the only information that you had in file information was up here in the beginning of your folder, right? But what you can also do, since you're doing some pre-items, on the right side, you can fill in some information you know you're going to use. For instance, I have my app file folder. I'm trying to do my due diligence, right? I have my lender information that says edit. I can fill in knowing that my client has been pre-approved with Prosperity. And let's see, you have the address, your loan officer is Kathy Jones. You put all of her information for the lender information, okay? So this is some pre-info you can put in. Right here. So that's data you can, I mean, that's imported values you can bring into documents. Also, if you're in the master buyer template, master buyer template is so much information that you can pre-fill in, and it's a great resource. You can fill in your buyer's name. I was about to put Pooper, that was bad. Popper. John Popper, you can fill in any information you need. Also, like what Sherry was just saying, you can import the values that you just pulled into that listing. Importing values can literally feed off of each other in so many different pages when you see this yellow button. So if I hit import values and I want to import it from a form, I can grab all of the information from the purchase and sale and buyer brokerage and pull it into my actual master buyer template to use somewhere else.
Oh,
So you just reusing more and more information. See, here's all the information on John Popper and the listing for Castleberry. All right here. When you close this, you'll see here's all the information for your master buyer. So when you bring in a new document, you can populate it in. Makes things really easy and quick, very quick.
Drew, I have a question.
Of course.
I wrote up several different offers and I used the import values for each one. However, the only area that wasn't filled in was my information. So what form didn't I complete, or how did I not get that to every one? I had to put in, you know, the office and contact and
Honestly, that form value that we were talking about in the beginning, that would have handled that for you.
Okay, but which form does that mean that I did not complete to carry over?
Well, I mean, it probably your purchase and sale. You probably need to go into your purchase and sale and fill in your agent information and office information.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
but that's great that you already imported values. I mean, if you do your form, sorry.
But I would think that you would be able to, your office and your name and everything like that. Is there a form at the beginning that I could have filled out that would auto-populate when I wrote the offer up?
Your buyer brokerage, you would have been able to pull your information from buyer
Okay.
brokerage. Yeah,
So
if you wanted, if you had that document open, let me bring up the purchase and sale. If you imported values and you wanted to import from form, your buyer brokerage would have been the place where you could have grabbed that information from.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's great. I mean, you're in it. I like that. Great
so
job.
doing that up front.
Yeah, it
It's
saves a lot of
shortcuts.
time,
Okay.
Sandy. Yeah. Because I mean, she's already pulled the information from FMLS. The only thing she was missing was that pre-filled information from the form values. So that's great. All right. So the next item I want to cover is bringing in documents that are not inside of AppFiles. So say if I want to pull in documents from somewhere else, okay? An example of this, so John Popper is infatuated with Bradbury, right? And Bradbury has some documents I need to grab. So when you're in FMLS and you have Bradbury up, you'll notice that there's this little teeny button underneath the photo of the listing that says documents. Most of y'all already know this. When a good agent is working with the listing, they usually have their disclosures in there. So I'm going to click on documents. And as you know, this used to be in rDocs. These used to be rDocs items. Well, now it's with Docs Plus with Remind. So Remind, Docs Plus. And this individual has warranty deed and seller's property disclosure. So
Okay.
I want to get these documents into my app file. Okay. You would click download all and have it somewhere you could grab them. I went ahead and put them on my desktop to make this easier on me to get this done. So I downloaded the items from this listing and they're sitting on my desktop right now. Okay. I go back to my app file folder with John Popper and I'm going to upload those files that are sitting on my desktop. Okay. I'm going to bring up this window by clicking on upload files. And I'm going to browse and grab the document. Okay, let's see, what do I have? Okay, I'll just grab the warranty deed for right now. Just select the item and click open. And now you'll see the item that I had downloaded from FMLS is ready to be uploaded. And I'm going to hit start upload. After you start upload, it will confirm it with you. It'll say, okay, yeah, that PDF has now been uploaded. And you say, okay. And over here, you'll notice there is an uploaded paperwork item. I believe somebody asked this question earlier. How do you get documents in that are not yours, that are PDFs? This is where you would do it. You would upload file. You would grab that PDF from your computer and you'd upload it into your app file. Okay. That's one way to do it. The fun one that I like is the fact that every single app file folder has an email address tied to it, right here in the middle. See where it says file mailbox?
I use that.
Oh man, talk about total lifesavers. Great shortcut, by the way, y'all. Every app file folder has its own email address. So think of it like this. A person sends you the floor plans for this listing. You can literally forward their email address straight into your app file folder so that you have all the floor plans in your app file folder just by using this email address right here.
Mm-hmm.
Want to make it even easier? There's an edit button next to it right here, the blue button, where you can name it something easier to remember. So a lot of the people who use app files religiously, they'll just change it to their client.
Yeah.
Okay. Save changes. John Popper is now my email address. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to save that email address into my phone so that I can always just have it readily available when I want to send the email to them, to my app file. So for an example like this, I'm going to copy this email address. I'm going to see, I still got my email. I still have my email open. I'm going to create a new message, new email. I'm going to paste this AppFiles email address into my email. I'm going to attach that last document I had. I'm going to browse my computer and go get that one last document, the seller's disclosure. I'm going to name the email sellers, and I'm going to send it into my app file. So not only can I upload a document easily from my computer, but I can also send an email straight into AppFiles to get the document into my app file folder. It's pretty neat. Practice with it. See how it works for you. Some people just prefer uploading documents. I understand that, but I'm a fan of the email system because honestly, there's a lot of items that you may not have that someone sends to you, just send it straight in. Also, some offices, marketing coordinators use AppFiles for marketing requests. Every office is different, but just think about it that way too. So I'm going to come back to John Popper's AppFiles and I'm going to refresh it. And there it is. Emailed paperwork is now in my AppFile folder. Just as easy as that. Make life easier on yourself. Y'all are busy. Y'all are making offers all the time. Make life easier. Do I have any questions on these two items? Please do not be afraid to ask. Okay. All right. It's getting a little
Okay,
quiet. I know there's a lot to
wait, Drew.
cover. I understand.
All right, Drew.
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to send it to someone in the file access. How do I do that?
Okay. Well, I mean, in general, here, I'm going to open up my buyer brokerage.
Okay,
You have the option right off the bat to send through email for all items right here. Send via, send it with a PDF, and you can send it straight to someone.
like an office personnel?
You can do that, or you can
Click
so
on-
that's one way of just emailing it to someone, an office personnel. But what you can also do is, well, I haven't gotten to that part just yet.
Okay, that's okay. I'll wait.
But no, that's okay. So the only thing that you would do differently for an office situation is you would change your general paperwork to maybe like broker docs, to a
Okay,
different status. And what it does is it gives them an alert that you have made it available to them.
okay.
But I'll cover more of that in just a little while. But yeah, you have the option to send via email right here. This is a great option if you need someone to proof before signing. So say you have your documents and you need to get it proofed before you sign, send it via email, say, hey, proof this information, make sure everything's right before I send for signatures.
Okay.
All right. So let's see if warranty deed will be a good example. So I'm going to open up this document. And this next thing that I'm going to cover is adding items to a document, kind of what Sherry was talking about. Okay. When you need to add a signature item, if you need to add an initial item, if you need to add a paragraph line, put a text, nix something by putting a line through it, this is where you would do it. Every document in AppFiles allows you to do this. Right here where it says edit, there's a blue button right here. You're going to click on it. And since this was a scanned document and it's not really text, it's just been scanned in through a printer, I'm going to start a quick conversion so that I can put items on it. All right, let me back up just a little bit on the view. Yeah.
Call from.
All right. So we have our document. We converted it just by clicking the edit button. Okay. When you do this, you can add elements. That's what this is called, adding elements. And when you do your test app file, what I recommend is bring up a document and go through all the elements and how it works. It makes life very easy. So the first thing that I want to do with this document is I'm going to add a text box on it to declare that this is Exhibit A. Okay. So up here under text, all you have to do is click on the item, put your cursor on your document, and click down. Okay. So I'm adding an element. In this element, I'm going to put Exhibit A. You can align it. You can make the font larger. You can make it bold. Say, I'm going to make it larger. It's up to you. Some people don't do any of these things. They just put down the text. And you're going to hit create. Just as simple as that. I've added a text bar to it. Okay. If you're as OCD as I am, you can move these items. To do that, you're just going to click on it once, which makes it yellow. And you can move the item wherever you want. You can also change those properties, make the font larger, all that, or you can even delete the element altogether. Okay. When you're done making your changes, you just click off of it and it turns it back to being blue. So when you do your test run of this, put all the elements down, get practice in here, put a paragraph field in, put a checkbox in. Initials, okay. We need to put an initial in, right? I'm coming down here to the bottom. I'm going to add an initial down here to the bottom of the document. First thing that you have to do is you have to declare who the role is. So if I need my buyer to add an initial, buyer 1, John Popper, I'm going to click buyer initials, and I'm going to place the initial button by clicking on it and put my cursor on the document and click down. Now I've added an initial box. Okay. If I need to display a date and time, I could select those items. If I need to add a signature request line, same situation. I declare who it needs to be signed by our signature. I click the place signature option down by clicking on it and put my cursor on the document and click. Okay. If I need to move it, I click it once and I can move the item. Okay, same with strike throughs. There's strike throughs as well. I need to put a strike through because it's incorrect. It's a different exhibit. You click on this to add the single line. You click down, it adds the strike through. If I need the strike through to be longer or I need to move it, I click once to make it yellow, come to the edge, and I can fix it. Just like that. So my recommendation with this, test it. Bring up a document, hit the edit button, go through all the motions of adding these elements, because you're going to have unusual situations like what Sherry's dealing with, where you're going to have to re-add a signature or add a text box when it's needed for someone to fill in. So this is where you can get comfortable with how it works. All right. After you have added these items, you can close the, you got a quick question, Sherry?
Okay, so yes, so like I'm gonna be already taking whatever you call it, the smart form or whatever it is in here, the app file, a form that I downloaded,
Okay.
signed. And then I guess what I would do, and I guess the other agents know what I'm talking about, she needs to add something to her seller's disclosure under defects. So I would just put a box there, and I guess what we would do if it were by hand is let them make that change and add an initial and a date.
Yes.
Is that what everybody else thinks too? Yes, I think it's right.
Yeah, well, because you're adding a new element, they're signing it with a timestamp. Yes, I get that.
That would fix the problem for me. However, then everybody sees we added it later when we send it to the agents to make offers. So that's the other part.
Yeah, so there's a little, yeah. And so then in that case, if you feel like that's a negative, then I would redo the document altogether. That's what you and I were kind of talking about in the beginning.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
technically she just didn't have to retype all the 50 fields in there because I PDF'd the first one, changed it to a different date. It was the updated document.
Yeah,
And it's,
yeah.
it's a disclosure.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. You basically answered yourself, Sherry.
Well, I want to make sure that I can, because the thing with the form, if I take that signature away and save it, she can actually go in there and type it without me adding a field for her.
Well, I mean, at that point, you don't want to remove a signature. I mean, at that point, I would just do a new document altogether and just make it a fresh doc, you know? So there's no legal issue to it. But
Well, if I save the first one, why would it be the same as downloading a brand new one?
well, no, if you save the first one, that's what I was saying earlier. If you save the first one, then yeah, you're in the clear with that, Sherry. Yeah.
My gosh. I want it to be right.
Fair. All right, let's see. So we've added our items, our elements. Our next item is merging documents. Okay. So you'll see this option in many places. It's like they constantly want you to merge your documents, it feels like. But up here, you'll see that it says merge paperwork. And I'm going to click merge paperwork. All right. And when you click the merge paperwork, you will see the items that are a part of this AppFiles. So if I want to merge my purchase and sale with my two different, or my two exhibits and the seller's disclosure, I'm going to click on it. I wish I had more documents to show you the merging, but you just click on the items and it brings it over here to the right side. Goodness, come on, HR. Keep sending me emails. All right, so I have all my items on the right side for my merging of paperwork. Next, I'll click Merge Selected Items. And it'll be converting. And now I have a merged paperwork with 27 pages rather than the original amount. So now it's all compressed for me to turn in. Now, don't think this is it. You can always split these documents back apart. I know people get a little overwhelmed. And like what Sherry was saying, she also made copies. So if you made a copy before you've really gone into a merged paperwork, it's not a bad idea because it's all there for you, right? So Sherry's got this. So I have my document. If I want to split this right back apart, there's a blue button right here at the top that says Split Forms. Don't feel like it's all set in stone. I'm going to hit Split Forms. I'm just going to select all my documents or select one, pull one document out. The merging can be just you taking the purchase and sale and adding one item in, for instance, the special steps, the extra special steps page. And then I'm going to split selected forms. And here they are out again. So get comfortable with the merging and the splitting. I'm going to merge it back together and I'm going to show you how to change the order. One thing I do want to point out, I'm going to bring open my purchase and sale. Find out the way your staff members would like for you to name your documents. Okay, if they have a naming convention they use, which is different at every office, just ask them a quick question. How would you like for me to name my documents?
Can you watch this for me, please?
Uh-oh. Sorry? Patricia?
Yes? Oh,
Oh,
so-
I thought you were talking to me.
I'm sorry. I'm
Oh, no, you're okay. You're okay. It's Zoom. Come on. We're good. So naming conventions are important in offices. So for instance, this purchase and sale agreement, if I want to rename this document, there is a pencil at the very top of this document. Okay, so I'm going to click on the pencil and I can change this. So instead of it being, you can name it, you know, the actual listing or however your staff members would like for it to be. And click check to save it. Okay. If your staff members want it to be 230 Bradbury Street Exhibit A or Exhibit A at Bradbury Street, just kind of find out how they would like it named and go from there. Each office is different. We will eventually have a systematic way of naming it. It's just in the pipeline right now. So come up with a sturdy way to name your documents. The reason why this is important, even though you merge your paperwork together, they still have naming to them. So as you split them apart, they still keep the name of those documents. It also helps when you're arranging them in the order when you merge the documents. So with that in mind, I'm going to merge my paperwork back together. I'm going to take my, let's see. Let me move this document back up to the top. All right. So I've merged my paperwork back together with my purchase and sale. But say I have a page that is out of order that needs to be moved. So you'll see a tab right here that says Edit Pages. Okay. All right. To best explain how this works, oops, lots of emails coming in. There's segments, there's pages within the segments. So you can move the order of the segments. So you can change the form order, or you can move the pages within the segment. Okay, so first I'm going to change the form order. So I'm going to click on Change Form Order, and I can move the order of my pages right here. Okay. and save changes. There's actually a green button. So there's one more. I need to write that down. Thank you. I see you, Sandy. Save changes. Okay. So now the segments are in the right order, all of them. When I say segment, see, conventional loan is a segment. The actual purchase and sale is a segment. Now, what I can also do is I can change the order within the segment. So if I need to organize the pages within the segment, this is where I can do this. So if I click on organize pages, I can move these orders right here if a page is out of order. So if you uploaded a PDF and you say, man, I can't believe I put that page at the end there, you can physically move the order and then save changes. Okay, so you can move segment and you can move the pages within the segment. Do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Of course.
On an offer, can you edit any form by splitting them if you're doing a counter offer?
Say this one more time.
Let's say you have that in front of you, and
Okay.
let's say verbally, the selling agent said, well, what do you think your people want to come back with? So she'll say, okay, well, just do that and send it again. Can I go back in to the forms and change on the purchase and sale agreement, like the price, and save that form? Can I take it out? Can I make changes to that without redoing the entire contract?
So for me, if it hasn't been signed, then yes. Sherry,
Okay.
are you with me on that?
Yes, if it hasn't been signed, yes.
I agree with her that sometimes we have to make multiple offers, like a clean offer, which is why I handled mine the way that I did. I'd probably want to do, if I were making multiple offers, save that as a PDF, like I did, Drew. I mean, I'm hoping I'm doing this right. And then taking that original offer.
Well, you
and
should.
re-
You shouldn't have to
remove
save it as a PDF, I wouldn't think, would you?
Well, it's if you can't change your original document, because it will change it if you use that change. So what I did is I downloaded it, saved it as a PDF, put it in, and in her case, 123 Main Street, offer 1, right? And then that was PDF'd. And rather than doing a whole contract again, I removed the signature. This is what I would do because I know what she's talking about. And then I would change my offer price or whatever terms I wanted to change, and then resend it back out for signature requests. And I just want to make sure that works.
My problem is removing a signature is the only thing that is something I don't. I would say check with your broker on that, because removing a signature is just one of those things I don't think you can do.
Could you then, Drew, could you do this a different way in order from retyping the whole contract again? Could you possibly copy that file and use it, which is basically what I'm doing anyway?
Well, and that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. New name.
I don't know. That's why I'm
No,
asking.
I'm doing this right now just to make sure I've got this. Name it Maine. Copy.
Or let's say you have no signatures.
Well, if you have no
And
signatures,
you want
yeah,
to go
you'd be
back and
okay
you
at
want to
that point.
edit, just your first page.
Yeah,
Can
well, if you have no
you
signatures, then
edit?
yes, you can make your edits. Yes, of course.
And you don't have to redo everything all over again.
No, if there's no signatures, you're fine on that across the board.
Okay.
See what I just did here, Sherry?
No, I didn't watch. I was listening to y'all.
No, it's okay. So what I did was I brought up the purchase and sale document, and up here under actions, I made a copy of it and I named it Maine, which means it hasn't been signed. It's my base.
Yeah, you named it what again?
So I made a copy, and here it is. It says the new name, and just say I named it you can name it base but it's an exact copy before I send off for all the signatures and stuff. So it's already made for me, ready to use.
Perfect. And that answers how to do it, right? I
Exactly.
would have a copy of two, I'd have multiple unsigned copies that I could edit.
There you go.
Perfect.
So that way you're not running into signature disputes or anything
Yeah.
like that legally.
Yes, that's
Cool.
perfect. Thank you. That's the answer I'm looking for.
Okay,
Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that again, just a short
of
summary?
course. So she's running into multiple offer situations. So what she wants to do is she wants to create basically a base, your purchase and sale with all the documents readily there for you, right?
Right,
And what she's saying is she's going to make copies so that she can make the offers, but still have the documents ready if she needs to make another offer. So it's like a base.
right.
So now you have a main, which I can probably get rid of one of these now. Since it hasn't been signed, I can delete these as well. So I have my main purchase and sale with all my documents. Okay.
Mhm.
I've made a copy of it so that I can send and use this one, knowing that I'm probably going to have to do this again. So you have a base with no signatures on it that you can continue to make copies for offers.
Well, Drew, that may be of how I did it with her.
Well, you were doing it with a PDF. That's the only limitation you had.
I think I had an original that I sent on the second round that had been unsigned that we didn't
Gotcha.
use. Maybe
Gotcha.
that is what I did. But now I'm running into, she does need to add something to it regardless of where the last came.
Well, I mean, now you can just add that text box now, you know?
And have her sign it. I don't know that I like that so well, but okay.
Well, let's see. Let's see. The next thing we've got to cover, because I know our time is getting short. We've already covered this part. Sending via email at the top here is so that you can send for proofing. If you need to send any document to anyone, send via email up here at the top. Send it as a PDF. Okay. All right. So you can do this. Also, naming conventions are extremely important. I keep harping on this because brokers have said this is extremely important. Make sure as you're using documents in your app files, a steady naming convention for your staff members. Check with them, make sure they're happy with what you've chosen, if it's what they like. Lastly, since we've covered so much, I mean, AppFiles is totally a lot to take in, but the truth is create your test app file, get practice in, feel comfortable. If you have a mentor, have them check you. Staff members here at Harry Norman know AppFiles just as well as I do. So when in doubt, ask questions. But if you're turning in your documents to your staff members, okay, it's different in every office, but I'm going to show you the way 3 offices have told me how they do it. Okay, the first thing, your buyer brokerage agreement needs to be turned into staff members. I'm going to select it and I'm going to change after signatures and everything's there. I'm going to change this to rDocs. Okay, this gives it to my staff members for review. Now, since you want the communication to be strong with you and your staff members, since I've changed it to rDocs, I'm going to come down here to create an update. Goodness, a lot of emails coming in. Create an update. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my staff member, which I believe I'm a part of the Buckhead office. So I'm going to tell Mary Grace Phillips, you know, hey, Mary Grace, I've turned in my buyer brokerage for John Popper. So you're just letting them know. You're giving them that little bit of communication. This system is great for that with you and your staff members. Okay, so that's my buyer brokerage. I've changed it to rDocs. And then I've let my staff members know by creating an update down here at the bottom. Okay. Lastly, I have everything and the offers ready to turn in. Now, everything's been filled in. I'm going to come up here to edit. So this is the folder itself. I'm going to go to edit. This is all filled in. I'm going to drop down the file type, and I'm going to change it to new pending. That is me turning into my staff members. Okay, new pending. And I'll scroll down. It's the one of the few times that you use save changes. So we found 3. And I'm going to click save changes. Okay. This will give an alert to my staff members in an email form and also in their app files that you have turned in your app file folder for John Popper and the offer he has made on Bradbury. Okay. Practice. AppFiles is all about practice. You will get comfortable with this. There's a lot of different options. You will find shortcuts for yourself, no doubt. Okay. Do I have any questions? I know there's a lot to digest. This video will be on YouTube, so you can reference back as you go. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the comment section real quick. H&R Trainer, when you go to YouTube, H&R space trainer. Okay. It looks just like this. In fact, the last town hall is one of my last videos. Also, we had toolkit updates that happened recently. If you hadn't heard. But the quickest way to find it, let me go to my comment section, chat, go to youtube.com/H&R trainer. Okay. All classes, all short videos, all of our market updates are added to this channel. It looks just like this. It's a great resource. Between myself and all the managers, we use it a lot just to get y'all up to par. Now, one thing I'll reference right off the bat, if you go to the playlist, and you scroll down and you go to toolkits, or not toolkit, where is it? What am I doing? App files, here it is, app files folder, the app files playlist. See the playlist? It says setting up your account, which was the first thing we did. How do I start an app files and how do I use it? All of this are here. Form values and why they're important. How do I import values? Merging and splitting documents. All the things that I've covered today are in this playlist on H&R Trainer under app files. And they're very easy to digest. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. I mean, it's pretty solid. And if y'all are getting involved with archiving in app files, I don't know which office they're doing right now, but there are some archiving happening. I also have a video for that. So I hope everybody enjoyed this class. I know it's a lot to digest, really it is, but create a test app file. You can't break it, and everything you do in here won't be seen by anybody else unless you turn it into your staff. So that test folder is very important. I'm going to hang out. If y'all have any questions, I'm here.
Drew, I have a question about getting signatures, telling the purchaser where to sign like we used to do in DocuSign. How do we get that on the documents?
Jim, it actually works the exact same way.
Okay.
It takes them through each individual item to sign.
Right.
Based on who it is. Well, if the signature is for a buyer signature, it takes them to it in order, okay?
Yeah.
So a quick way for you to see how it works,
right.
Send yourself a signature using one of your documents and go through the steps yourself and you'll see how it works. But it works just like DocuSign.
Okay.